Okay. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. We are back. um, okay, so we are continuing with our look at the triennial Torah portion. We're going to today be looking at Leviticus chapter 24. Leviticus chapter 24 we'll be looking at. We're going to be dealing with pressed olives. Pressed olives, among other things. We're going to be looking at this week, again, Leviticus chapter 24. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and just jump right in. We're going to move over to the scriptures. Let's see, we'll probably read a little bit at a time. We'll start with Leviticus chapter 24 and read the first probably 4 verses, I think. We'll just go over the first 4 verses for right now. Let me pull this up. Hold on one second here. Let me put this on the screen. Okay. All right, nice and loud. Read 1 through 4 there.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring to you clear oil of pressed olives for the light, to make the lamps burn continually. Outside the veil of the witness, in the tent of appointment, Aaron is to arrange it from evening until morning before Yahweh continually. A law forever throughout your generations. He is to arrange the lamps on the clean gold lampstand before Yahweh continually.
Okay, very good. All right, so looking over here, we see it's talking about the menorah. Okay, the menorah, the candle stand. Hold on one second here. All right, and so we see that with the menorah was something that had to burn continually. It had to burn continually, right? It wasn't able to go out. I talked about this probably a few times at this point where we talk about the fact that as lights, the menorah, of course, being an example of that thing that emanated light. It provided light for a place that didn't have its own light, right? Inside of inside of the holy place, it was completely covered in with tent coverings, right? And so there was no natural light. There wasn't natural light that came in.
There were multiple colors.
Yeah, it was light out external light. Light was from the outside. It wasn't able to penetrate through the many layers of tent coverings that existed, right? So there wasn't any external light. The only light that there was the light that was from within. Okay, so the menorah provided light in a place where there wasn't any natural light. Okay, so but there always had to be light there. It had to burn all of the time. And so when we think about the example that the menorah provides in terms of being this light bearer, this one that provides this light in a place that there is no natural light provided there. It always has to burn. And so when we think about us in terms of um, ones that bring the light, the Yeshua said for us to be lights in this world, right? We always have to burn. We have to burn continually, right? As it says over here in this verse 2. All right, and so the way that we do this, the way that we're able to burn continually, is like unto what we see over here with the natural thing. Just like when we look at the menorah, where it needed this clear um, oil of pressed olives for light. This is the way that it was able to be fueled so that it could burn all the time. Okay, and so we want to look at some of these things over here, as we always do, to see if we can get a better understanding. So let's pull up our tools over here, verse 2. Okay, and so it said bring you clear oil. Let's see here if I can find my cursor. Oil is shemen. Shemen, which, let's see here, is from this word shaman, which, hold on, let me get this on here so I don't gotta, we can have it over on the side. Second here, make this a little bigger. Alright, let's get the Strongs. Okay, alright, it says it's from this word shaman, which it means a grease, especially liquid, as from the olive, often perfumed, figuratively richness, anointing, fat or fat things, fruitful oil, ointment, and so on and so forth. So we see over there, when we look at this word over here that's translated as oil, we see this aspect over here. Wait a second. I keep on. We see this over here, anointing. We think about anointing, we think about the Ruach. We think about the Ruach HaKodesh. If we was to talk about ourselves as lamps, our fuel, the thing that we would need in order to be able to burn, to provide light, the thing that we would need would most definitely be the Ruach HaKodesh. And then so when we think about this word that's translated as oil, figuratively, it is, has the idea of richness. If we were to really think about, the value that we possess, anything that could be likened unto richness or greatness, right, comes from the Most High, right? Every good and perfect thing comes from above. So we was to think about our richness, it comes from our anointing. It comes from our spirit. It comes from right. We think about fatness from a perspective of health, where of course, from that kind of perspective, is a negative thing. But in the context of what we will be thinking about, the fatness, the overflow, the abundance, right? These are all things that can be thought of in a positive way, as well, right? In terms of the overabundance, right? Because fat really is an overabundance. You eat these things and you get, your body takes what it needs, and the other parts that are the overabundant parts, right? It it turns kind of into fat, but
Excess.
it's excess, right? But we can think about excess in a way in which it's giving us kind of a positive connotation, right? When we could think about the fact that the Most High is able to provide for us in abundance and in excess, right? When we're talking about His provision, we want there to be extra, right? When we're talking about the provision that's provided from the Most High, just enough is good, and we should be thankful for just enough. But there's a blessing in the abundance, right? There's a blessing in the excess. And so when we think about the ruach in that way, where we have access to access to excess spirit, right? When we have the access to extra anointing, that's a good thing, right? And so again, we think about this oil. When we think about this oil that comes from the richness or the fat of the fruit, right? There's a way in which you get that fat, that oil, that richness, that excess from the fruit. And it says over here that you have these pressed olives, right? Bring you clear oil of, the clear oil came from these pressed olives. Here, what's this person say over here? Our bodies are the temple that is to provide and embody light. Yes, absolutely, right. That's what we're talking about, and we're talking about how we get to the place of expressing and manifesting this light, right? Which is the same way that the physical menorah was by this pressed oil. Okay, so we see over here, verse 2, still verse 2, this word here is beaten, katit. Okay, that word means beaten. That is pure oil beaten, right? And so the idea over here is the idea of beating, pressing, right? extenuated pushing. There's a violent striking that is necessary in order for the oil to be removed. I can eat an olive. And like chew it up and not really notice the oiliness of it, right? Because I just kind of just throw it in my mouth and just chew it up and swallow it. But if I had a whole bunch of olives, right, and I pressed those, because just from one olive, right, you just get just a little bit of oil, right? But if I had a whole bunch of them and I pressed down on them, right, the byproduct of that is the oil. But what we have to understand is that it's not like how like on like a maple tree, you could just be going by a maple tree and then you could just see like the sap kind of just oozing out of it.
Out the tree.
Yeah, just out the tree, like it just kind of just naturally just come out. It's not like no processes have to happen in order for it to ooze out. Like you have to go in there, huh?
For the sap.
Yeah, it kind of just oozes.
You just poke a hole in the tree and then it will just fall, come off the tree.
Yeah,
We've done that in homeschool.
Or like if you got like these like pine trees got sap, right? Where they just kind of just drips out. Right, where it's not like a process that needs to be done in order for the things to come out. But we're talking about this oil, this fine, pure, clear oil that comes out of the olive. There's a process that's necessary in order to get the oil out, and that process is pressure. That process is violent striking on the flesh of the olive, right? That's the only way that it comes out, by being violently stricken. Okay, let's look at a couple verses over here. Let's see here. First of all, we need the other. This is something that people don't want. This thing what we about to look at right here. People don't want this part. They want to be maple trees, but they don't understand that we actually are olive trees. Okay, a maple tree don't need nothing for its internal goodness to come out. Okay, if there's a hole in it, it'll ooze out. It'll just ooze out, right? But this over here is something different. Okay, if we want to be lights, we have to understand that the way that we become lights is to allow for our selves to be beaten, right? To be violently stricken. Right, our flesh has to be beaten down so that the spirit can emerge. But let's look over here. Let's look over here at let's see here. Let's see if we can read. Let's see. Let's see. Sirach 23, and start reading at verse 4. Okay, hold on one second. Hold on, let me pull this up over here. Okay, go ahead. Start reading at number verse 4, nice and loud.
O Lord, Father, and Yah of my life, give me not a proud look, But turn away from thy servants away always a haughty mind. Turn away from me vain hopes and con- concupiscence and
Concupiscence.
concupiscence, and thou shalt hold him up that desirous always to serve thee. Let not the greediness of the belly nor lust of the flesh take hold of me, and give not over me thy servant into an impudent mind.
Okay, very good. So we see over here all of these things that are being requested of the Father by the writer over here are things that are dealing with the denial of your flesh, the denial of your carnal mind, right? Your carnality. It says, turn away from thy servant always a haughty mind. Right? It's easy for us to kind of get in a way where we kind of, have this high mindedness about us, right? Haughtiness. Haughty, right? Ness, right? When things, start to go your way, right? Every time you turn around the corner, there's nothing but happiness and joy over there. You start to feel a certain kind of way, right? You start to feel a little haughty, right? These things happen, right? But that's your pride inside of you swelling up, right? And pride comes before the fall. Okay, pride is going to always bring you into sin. It's always going to bring you into a sinful situation, right? And so what one should be doing, right? He said, "Give me not a proud look, but turn away thy servant always a haughty mind." Don't cause me, please. Don't allow for my mind to become prideful. Please don't cause me to sit up here and look at myself and think about how good and perfect I am, right? But cause me to look at you instead. Let's look at this word over here. Hiskey has some problems with this word here. Let's see here. Let's see what this word means. Concupiscence. To covet or lust after, to desire, lust unlawful or irregular desire of sexual pleasure. In a more general sense, the coveting of carnal things, or an irregular appetite for worldly good, inclination for unlawful enjoyments. Right? All of these things are, he said, turn away from me vain hopes and concupiscence. Right? Vain hopes, things that I'm wishing for. If I'm hoping something, I'm desiring some positive thing to happen in the future. But it says vain hopes and concupiscence, right? So I'm sitting here wanting and desiring these potentially pleasant feeling things to happen in my life, but of course we're speaking about vain things, right? So these are things that they may seem good, they may seem right, and all of these things, but we're talking about vain things, right? The writer here is saying, turn away. I don't want to be sitting around waiting and wishing for these this or that to actually happen, when if this or that was to come about, it wouldn't be something that has anything to do with the kingdom of the Most High. Right? I got all these vain hopes. I got all these worthless hopes and desires. Right? But not only worthless ones, but also unlawful ones. Right? Worldly things. Right? It says an irregular appetite for worldly good. I got all these thoughts in my mind about all of these things that I want to be a part of and happen. And all of these things are all worldly things. Right? The writer's saying, turn me away from those things. I don't want to have a mind that's full of vain hopes and irregular appetites for worldly good.
But that's what people will base your success on.
Yeah.
In life is how much do you own? What do you have that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Worldly goods. Right? Worldly
What kind of degrees
things.
do you have?
Yeah.
House do you have?
Who
What kind of
deemed
car?
you to be intelligent? Who said you were smart? Who said you knew anything?
What university?
Yes. What letters do you have behind your name? These things, can be all well and good. But we have to be able to rightly prioritize our life in a way that our goals in life, the main things that we're trying to do in this earth got to be about the kingdom. Right? It got to be about the kingdom. Right? We have to interact in this world. Of course, we have to interact. But we have to be about our Father's business. That's what Yeshua was about. Yeshua was about his Father's business. Right? And that's what we have to seek to do. And the way that we do that is by denying our carnal appetites, by beating down the flesh, our olivey flesh, beating it down and denying our carnal minds the things that it would want, and replacing those wants and desires with things that the Most High wants from us. Okay? He said, let not the greediness of the belly, nor the lust of the flesh take hold of me. Right? Your belly, your appetites, your carnal appetites, lusts, and desires. Don't let these things take hold of me, because if I don't look at these things and understand that that your carnal mind is a real threat, if I don't make these requests, that's the thing that's going to happen. Right? If I don't speak to the Most High and deal with the greediness of my belly and the lust of my flesh, if I don't call for the Most High to help me in this way, then that's going to be the natural progression. Right? If you're hungry, you eat. Right? Period, point blank. Right? When you're hungry, you eat. Okay? And so when we think about our carnality, again, this olive, right? We're this olive. We need to be pressed, to be pressured, to be beat down in our flesh, so that the spirit inside can flourish. That's the only way the pure oil came out. It did. There was work involved in extracting the oil that was used to fuel the menorah. Okay. Okay. The only way that the oil is able to be extracted from the olives is pressure. Okay. When people think when people think that this life is supposed to be this life of peaches and cream, that's what those people got another thing coming. Peaches and cream. I don't even like peaches and cream. That's just like ice cream or something. Like, don't people just take like cream and like eat it with like peaches?
Peaches and cream. I think about oatmeal.
Ugh, that's disgusting to me.
The peaches and cream oatmeal.
I'm just saying, you think about whatever thing you think is pleasant and easy and delightful and all of that. And this life ain't that. Right? It's not that without the pressed olives. You can't get to the place of beautifulness and peaches and cream. You can't get to the place of milk and honey without the pressure, without the denial of the flesh. That's just how it goes. Okay? And so there's work. There's work that's involved in this life that goes contrary to what you would naturally be wanting to do. Okay, that's what this is. This, when we look over here in this Sirach 23, verse 4 through 6, he's basically dealing with the fact that please cause these things that would naturally occur inside of me to be taken out of the equation, and replace those things with your spirit. Let's look over here. Let's go over to Galatians. Let's see. Galatians. Chapter 5. Let's see. Okay, hold on one second here. Let me switch over. Okay, start reading at verse 16.
And I say, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not accomplish the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are opposed to each other, so that you do not do what you desire to do.
Okay, stop right there. When we think about just the very nature of our flesh, just the very nature, for the flesh lusts against the Spirit. The very nature of our flesh is to do things that's opposite of what the Ruach HaKodesh will have for us to be doing. The very nature, right? For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. These are opposing forces. These are opposing forces that function and operate inside of you, and one's gonna win and one's gonna lose. Okay, but these are enemies fighting against each other, and these things do not they're not able to easily coexist with one another. Your flesh always wants to be fed. Our flesh always wants to be fed, just like that baby over there wants to be fed. Right? Our flesh, our flesh and our carnal appetites, our soul, our nephesh always wants to be fed. Okay? And if we spent our entire existence trying to feed and appease our flesh and our carnality, if we did that, it's going to be a whole bunch of things that you're going to be doing in the midst of that that's going to be totally contrary to the will and the way of the Most High. Simple and plain, period, point blank. Right? If we sat around and all that we wanted to do in our whole entire life was sit up here and appease our carnal minds, we're going to be in some gross iniquity pretty soon.
Real fast.
Really fast. Because the flesh lusts against the spirit. Its desire, its whole purpose is a whole other purpose. That the spirit got its own purpose. The spirit against the flesh. These things are contrary to one another. If I want to appease my flesh and my carnality, I want this, I want that, I want all this stuff. If I want to please the spirit, man, I wonder if they need anything. Did that person need something? Let me see if I can't do something for them over there. That's against the flesh. Because your flesh wants to sit up here and acquire things for you. But the spirit say, hold on, maybe I could do something for this one over here. Or maybe I could help this one over here.
There was something that Mr. Adate once told me was that inside of you there are two lions. There's a good one and a bad one. And they're always fighting each other. And whichever one you feed the most is going to win over the other lion. And that coincides with the flesh and the spirit. Right?
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. When you think about it in that way, really, is really what we see going on, with ourselves. If we continually feed our flesh, our carnal appetites, those appetites are never going to be quenched. It's not as if you could just eat enough and then be full, right? It's just going to keep on growing and growing and growing. But when we, cause for our spirit to be the thing that grows on the inside of us, that feeds us, that we feed our spirit, that thing, as it's growing, as the spirit is growing, it gains control of our actual being, as to where this flesh thing, gets weaker, right? And so again, this idea that these two, should we say, forces are working against each other, and their goals are, they're opposites of each other. Okay. Let's see here what Cam says over here. It says in Romans 11, Paul likened Israel as natural branches of a cultivated olive tree. Yes, when we think about the idea of this whole idea of the olive tree, whether we talk about the tree or the branches or the fruit, it's all the same kind of imagery that we speak of over here when we we talk about this light, as we're seeing, we see this aspect, this thing that comes from the tree, from the branch, which is the fruit, the olive, and then not only the fruit, but now a byproduct of the fruit, right? That is not easily, not easily achieved. And so the point here that we're making is the fact that when we desire to be lights in this world, understanding that this light that we are, the way that we achieve that is by denying our carnal mind, by denying the lusts of our flesh that are against the spirit, and by feeding the Ruach HaKodesh inside of us and causing, allowing the spirit, the seed of the spirit that the Most High has planted on the inside of us to grow strong and be manifest in our lives, right? So that we could be that light. Okay. So go ahead and read on. Let's see. You started verse 18. Okay.
But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under Torah.
Very good. Led by the Spirit. Yes, go ahead.
And the works of the flesh are well known, which are these: adultery, whoring, uncleanness, indecency, idolatry, drug sorcery, hatred, quarrels, jealousies, fits of rage, selfish ambitions.
Selfish ambitions, yes, not shrimp and lobster.
Dissensions, factions, envy, murders, drunkenness, wild parties, and the like, of which I forewarn you.
Wild parties? Interesting. Okay, go ahead.
As I forewarn you, even as I also said before, that those who practice such as these shall not inherit the reign of Elohim. But
okay, let's stop right there. So when we look over here, all of these things, this list is kind of it's a long list, right? All these things: adultery, whoring, uncleanness, indecency, idolatry, all of these things, right? All of these things are works of the flesh. All of these things are things that appease your carnal appetite. And all of these things are things that we look back over where we see in Sirach, where it's talking about the idea of turn me, in fact, away from all of these things that my flesh wants to do. Right? We see kind of the practical application, the spiritual application of the pressing of the olive. Right? The pressing of the olive deals with pressure on your own flesh so that the richness and goodness can exude out from you. Right? So putting yourself in an uncomfortable position so that the spirit inside of you can manifest. Okay? Because, in our carnality, we're wild animals. We're wild animals in our carnality. Just give me this, give me that. I want this, I want that. I don't care if it's yours. Let me get that. All of that in our carnality. But the Spirit brings order and balance to our situation. Okay? Boundaries. Right? The Spirit brings boundaries to our. We don't just go around and just be all over the place, anywhere, anytime, any way. Right? There's order. There's a way about us. Right? And so, we have to. And again, thinking about this idea of this beaten olive, the only way that we're able to be the fuel for the light is by going through the process.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. That's what we were just talking about this morning. The women was just talking about that.
I wasn't there. Okay.
Wasn't.
Okay.
The process.
And so we
that
got to
this
go
morning.
through the process, which involves denying the flesh. You can't be doing all of this stuff simultaneously with and think that light's gonna come out.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no light gonna come out.
Oh, man.
Right? If you not pressing down on your flesh, ain't no light gonna come out because no fuel was produced to saturate the wick to burn the fire. No fuel was produced. Right? Because all you did was just take the olive and just let it sit there. You never pressed the oil out.
Mm-hmm.
And so
You might have pressed it just a little tiny bit and then stop.
I know, and that ain't doing nothing. That ain't doing nothing. Okay? And so what we have to understand over here is that there is a process, and the process is pressure. The process is violent. Okay? It's uncomfortable. It's not what you're used to doing. Because what you're used to doing is debauchery and uncleanness and indecency. That's what you're used to doing. But this thing over here is suppressing those things, moving those things out of the way and replacing those things with things that are of righteousness. Go ahead.
When I speak to women, I talk about submission, and that submission begins when agreement ends. So a lot of times we say that we're submissive wives to our husbands, but that's because we agree with everything that's going down. So if it was in our will, what our husband is doing is exactly what we would have been doing or what we think otherwise. So that's not really submission. That's just agreement, But submission begins where if something is said or our husband wants to do something or has a vision that we're not necessarily in agreement of, or we don't see eye to eye in, or we might even just outrightly disagree with, it makes us uncomfortable. Now we do that thing anyway. That's submission. And that's that's something that's taking us outside of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so if we're looking at that in relationship with the Most High, a lot of things He has for us to do, we can see eye to eye with. We can agree with that thing in our flesh. I mean, you know what I mean? We could see, like, if you sow good seeds, you'll reap a good, reward. But that's things that we look at in our flesh as being good.
Yeah.
But now if we need to deny our flesh, that's a different thing. You know what I mean? And so it's submission is involving us becoming uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And our life with Messiah is about submission unto Him. Okay? And so we're going from this place where we was the master of our lives. We was the captain of our ship. Right? And then but we receive a new captain who is Yeshua. And he's saying go right, but you like, well, I'm used to going left. I will go left every time. I'm just gonna go left because this is the way that I know how to go. I'm gonna get there. I know how to get there by going left. You saying I'm supposed to go right, but I've been going left this whole time. I know how to get there. It's left. And so submission is the process, the results, everything. You know everything about left. But you don't know anything about right. you've never been right. You've never been right. So, it's unknown to you. But that's the way the master wants for you to go. Submission is saying, I don't know what's over there. I'm just going because he said go.
Might not even be the quickest way.
It might actually be the longest way. But if he said go that way, that's what you're going to do. And so we have to understand that, in that is the pressure. In that is the denial. Right? In that is the violence against your flesh, against what you think you should be doing, as opposed to what the Most High is telling you to do.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we have to get to the place of understand that this life that we live as lights that have to continually burn. The only way that we're able to continually burn is through this beaten oil. Okay, the extraction of this beaten oil that is able to exude out of us as a result of the pressure that's applied to the flesh. Okay. Let's see.
Can I say?
Go ahead.
That is one of the reasons that experience, when you're looking at people who's coming in, experience is so necessary. And people who come in, they look, it's like you could literally be on fire. You come in the door, you're on fire. You know what I mean? But how long does that fire burn?
Mm-hmm.
How long does it last?
If I sit up here and I take a paper towel and I set fire to it, that thing blazes. It'd be like, whoo. Fire just be like, whoo. But that fire be out with the quickness. I was sitting out there when we was out Yellowstone and I was trying to start them fires. And then I would come in the house, I light a paper towel on the stove. By the time I got that paper towel to the fire pit, the paper towel it burnt all the way up. I was trying to hurry up and get there before the thing. It wasn't even just a little square either. It was like a full square, not like a half a square paper towel. That thing would be burnt by the time I took like 5 steps. Burnt all the way up. And it was real fire, too. The fire was real. But it didn't have no fuel, though. Right? It didn't have no fuel. And without the fuel, it just burns up. It just burns up into nothing. So that's real. People be on fire. They be lit. People be lit. And then they just fizzle out. Because they don't got that pure beaten oil. That's necessary. They didn't submit to the process. Right? Exodus 27:20 is basically the same exact verse, right? When we talk about the idea of the priests bringing that pure beaten oil for the lamps so that they can burn continually. Right? We got to be on fire. Right? And continually burn. We got to continually burn. Right? That's the only way. Right? Again, when we're looking at this, thinking about Leviticus and what's being told to the priests are providing this pure light in this place where there is no natural light. Right? That's a perfect example of what you are in this world of darkness. You're providing a place in light. In this darkness, a place where there is no natural light. Okay? think about what it is that Yeshua is requiring of us. And again, that light is the character. It's the character of the Most High. It's manifesting His character, right? Because when we look over here, before we go back over here, we look over back at read 22 and 23.
But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, trustworthiness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no Torah. And though
very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we look at that, all of those things over here, this is the character of the Most High. This is His character. And so when we manifest the fruits of the Spirit, we're manifesting His character. And when we manifest His character against those things, against such, there is no law. There is no Torah that's against gentleness and self-control. There is no Torah that's against goodness and kindness and patience and peace and love and joy. There's no Torah against that. That's what Torah is. Torah is all those things: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, trustworthiness, gentleness, and self-control. There's no law against those things. There's a whole bunch of laws that propagates those things for sure. Okay, so when we manifest the Spirit inside of us, we manifest these things, which is manifesting the Torah in us, which is a result of us denying our carnal mind, our flesh, that needs to be beat down. Okay? Okay, so again, that menorah provides light in a place that there is no natural light. Okay? Read this verse over here. Let's see, 28. 29.
And you shall be groping at noon, as a blind man gropes in darkness, and not prosper in your ways, and you shall be only oppressed and plundered all the days, with no one to save you.
Okay, very good. When we look over here at the state of Israel, Israel is in the state where there is no natural light. There is no light. He said, "You shall be groping at noonday." You sitting up here. You know the lights is on, and you sitting up here like you can't really. You can't see nothing. Right? You can't see your hand in front of your face. You blind. You can't see. You need to wear your glasses like DMC. You can't see nothing. Right? And so you need for there to be light provided for you in your place of darkness. Okay? And that light is Yeshua. That light is Yeshua. That light is His Ruach HaKodesh on the inside of the believers in Yeshua. That light is the manifestation of the character of the Most High in this earth. Okay? But that light got to be continually burning. It has to be continually burning. And it can't continually burn unless the olives get beaten so that the oil could come out. Let's see what this is. 12 and 25. Verse 25.
They grope in darkness, having no light, and He makes them stagger like a drunkard.
Okay, very good. This is where our people at right here. Outside of Messiah, outside of the Most High, you just walking around and you don't have any light, having no light. You don't have any light. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, you're flying. Yeah. And this is where we at. There's no light. There's no light. Okay? But the only way that light can be provided is through Yeshua. Yeshua's the way. And Yeshua in you got to be shining all the time. The light can't go out. It got to burn continually. And the only way that it burns continually is for you to squeeze the oil out. You got to keep squeezing it out.
If you stop, then it's going to, the fuel
Then it's not going to come out. Okay? But this is the state of our people. They out here having no light. There's a place, these people are out here in a place where there is no natural light. And so the light has to be provided by the Messiah in you. Okay? What's this verse say? I think it might be. Let's see. What does it say? 8. 20.
To the Torah and to the witness, if they do not speak according to this word, it is because they have no daybreak.
They have no light. If you ain't talking about Yeshua, who is the word, the manifested word, the walking Torah, who is the manifestation of the law and the prophets, you don't got no light. You got no daybreak. You have no breaking forth of light. To the law and to the witnesses, if they do not speak according to that word, it's because you got no light. People got a whole bunch to say out here in these days. But if you ain't coming with that pure, clean oil that's beaten from olives, if you're not coming with that, you ain't got nothing. You still out here blind because you talking about something that's just like that paper towel that got set on fire. It might let you be able to see for a little bit until the fire go out. But them priests, they had to work. They had to work to keep that thing lit. Hold on, let's go back over here. Let me see what it say. You read this already. Read it again, verse 3.
Outside the veil of the witness, in the tent of appointment, Aaron is to arrange it from evening until morning before Yahweh continually, a law forever throughout your generations.
He's arranging the oil and the lamp so that it can burn from evening until morning. He got to set the thing up so that at nighttime that thing gonna burn all the way back until the morning whenever he's ready to go again. He gonna go in there for the evening sacrifice and offerings. He gonna take care of the evening one, and he got to take care of that light so that it can burn all the way until the morning one. Continually, Allah forever throughout your generations. Keep the light burning. There was something that he had to do to make sure that the wicks was right, the amount of oil was right, and that they properly burnt throughout the night. Throughout the night, from even the morning, throughout the time when there wasn't no light. And so this is where we're at. It's between evening and morning. It's the dark time. It's this time when there ain't no natural light. And our people out here walking around, feeling around in the openness, for something to not stumble in, but they're gonna stumble into it because there ain't no light and they can't see and they blind. But we have to provide some light for these people so that they can see, so that they too can become light, and so that they can shine some light on somebody else. But again, this process is about denying your flesh, denying your carnality, pressing down on the olive and getting that oil to come out, that fuel to burn the fire. Okay. All right, let's keep on going. Let's look some more at this chapter here. Let's go down to verse number 5. Start reading at verse 5.
And you shall take fine flour and bake 12 cakes with it, 2/10 of an ephah in each cake. And you shall set them in 2 rows, 6 in a row, and on the clean table before Yahweh. And you shall put clear frankincense on each row, and it shall be on the bread as a remembrance portion, an offering made by fire to Yahweh. On every Sabbath he is to arrange it before Yahweh continually from the children of Israel, an everlasting covenant, and it shall be for Aaron and his sons, and they shall eat it in the set-apart place, because it is most set apart to him from the offerings of Yahweh made by fire, an everlasting law.
Okay, very good. So we see over here this thing that they did with this showbread. Now it's interesting when we think about the showbread, because it was this bread that was presented. The priest ate of it, but they had these 12 cakes that was on it. Right? That's obviously representative of Israel. Right? It's obviously representative of Israel. Right? And so when we think about the fact that you have these 12 cakes that represented Israel, the people that was always on display and offered unto the Most High and to the service of the Most High, right? Because the priests, they got to eat the bread, right? And so you have Israel, who's kind of signified by these bread that was offered to the service of the Most High in this place where this unnatural light is being provided, in this place where there is no natural light provided. Right? It caused me really just to think about the idea of the fact that Israel, the people of the Most High, we have to be dedicated to his service. To his service, right? We have these cakes here, are an example for us in terms of these 12 loaves of bread are here, six in one row, 6 in another, on this table before the Most High for the service of the Most High. We got to be about the Father's business. We got to be about His business, right? We shouldn't really have no other business but His business.
Mm-hmm.
If we got some other business, it got to be somehow about His business in some kind of way, right? Because that is what we're here for. That's what we were created for, right? And it's interesting when we look over here at these cakes, this table of showbread, right? Which again, their sole purpose is to be part of the service unto the Most High. Okay, so it just seems like another place where it's just helping us to see, what our place really should be, right? It's about the service of the Most High. We're going to keep on going over at verse 10. Start reading at verse 10 down to, down to 16.
And the son of Israeli woman, whose father was a Mitzrayim man, went out among the children of Israel, and the Israeli woman's son and a man of Israel strove in the camp. And the Israeli woman's son blasphemed the name and cursed. So they brought him to Moshe. Now his mother's name was Shelomith, and the daughter of Debri of the tribe of Dan. And they put him under guard, that it might be declared to them at the mouth of Yahweh. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Bring the one who has cursed outside the camp, and all those who heard him shall lay their hands on his head, and all the congregation shall stone him. And speak to the children of Israel, saying, Anyone who curses his Elohim shall bear his sin. And he who blasphemes the name of Yahweh shall certainly be put to death. And all the congregation certainly stone him, the stranger as well as the native. When he blasphemes the name, he is put to death.
Okay, very good. So let's go back here. This person that blasphemes is put to death. So we want to look back over here and see this, so we make sure that we don't be out here doing this. Okay, because this offense here is punishable by death. Okay, so let's go back to verse 11. Verse 11, this word here, nakab. Okay, to puncture, literally to perforate with more or less violence, or figuratively to specify, designate, libel, appoint, blaspheme, bore, express with holes, pierce, or strike through. Okay, let's see here. So we look at this over here. Let's see. Let me see what this is. Okay. Let's see here. Uttering impious or reproachable words concerning Elohim. Okay, so when we see over here to speak evil of, to utter abuse against, to speak reproachably of the name of the Most High. So when we think about the name, of the Most High, we think about his reputation, right? We think about the honor, the prestige and integrity that's connected to or with the Most High. We think about, it's easy for us to think about, branding, these days, the brand. If you speak against the brand of the Most High, if you slander his brand, this is a offense that's punishable by death. Right? This is the scenario that we see happen over here with this woman's son. Okay? And so when we think about this idea, this slander, false accusations, right? A maliciously made report, right? This is something that we are not able to really be connected to the Most High, right? We can't be found over here speaking slanderously and falsely accusing the brand of the Almighty. Think about what it would take in order for one to even get to the place where they was able to even fix their mouth to allow such things to come out of it. Okay, if we have a proper understanding of the Most High and who He is, we have a real knowledge and understanding of Him, right? That actual fear of the Most High. If we have that, we could never get to the place of blaspheming His name, His brand, His honor, right? The integrity that is connected to Him. Mm-hmm. We could never do such things. But this person over here, this woman's son who did it, that's what happened to them. And so they were killed. They was considered worthless. Right? That's the only, if you can get to the place where you're you're able to be killed, right? Then your life isn't worth anything. You no longer are worthy of living. But we're saying that there's a thing that got him to the place of not being worthy to live anymore, which was, again, this idea of not having the fear of Elohim, not knowing who He was, and that reality taking him to a place where he manifested that foolishness out of his mouth, and then he was, subsequently done away with. But we can think about how this idea of blaspheming the name of the Most High. We're able to think about how these things can be realized even today. People do this stuff all the time. when, we go, out here and represent the Most High in an impious, a non-holy way. Right? If you're representing the Most High in an impious or an unholy way, guess what? You're blaspheming His name, because you're representing Him, and but you're not representing Him in a way that is set apart. And so that's the same thing we see over here with this person over here in Leviticus 24 and 11, which caused him to be worthy of death. Let's look at this. Let me see this real quick. This word is nakab. Nakab. Let me see something here. Where's my whiteboard? Oh, here it is, hiding back here. Where's my eraser?
That's why whenever
go ahead.
like, we wasn't gonna get that vaccine anyway, but I'm just saying. But whenever Johnson put their name on that vaccine, I'm like, why would anybody get Johnson and Johnson? Come on now. They said they couldn't get baby powder right. So how are they supposed to get some you put in your body vaccine right? Then you get tested.
Let's see here. Nakab is a noon. The kuf and the bait. And so that is a sprouted seed. It is it's a sun at the horizon, and it is a tent floor plan. Okay, so if we think about this over here, let's look at this a little bit here. The noon is the sprouted seed, which give you the idea of a continuance. So if something is to continue, right? Something is to be kind of perpetual. It continues on and on. And so if we have that continuance over here, we have the coming together of light at a specific point. Right? The coming together, the gathering all together at a specific point. And then we have the tent plan. So if we take this point and we continually point at the house or the tent, there's going to get a hole's going to get there, right? Think about a magnifying glass that intensifies this light into this small little place. It gathers up all this light and makes this small little point. If you hold that concentrated light that's concentrated to a point, and you continually put that point on the tent, your tent's gonna have a hole in it. Okay. And so if you have a tent with a hole in it, bugs gonna get in, water gonna get in. That thing's gonna become diminished, right? It's going to lose its value. It's going to lose its purpose, right? All of these things can happen whenever you pierce the tent, whenever you poke a hole in the tent. And that's what you're doing whenever you blaspheme against the name of the Most High. You're causing his name to be lessened. You're causing his name to be to not be as strong. Right? You're causing it, in fact, to be weak. Not necessarily like you're changing the Most High and causing him to be weak, but you're causing him to be weak in people's eyes. The way people perceive him, the way he's looked at, right? Right. Even worldly companies understand this idea of being bad for the brand, right? And so when we talking about the Most High don't accept this type of behavior when people come around and bring down his brand, right? This is a punishable offense that's punishable by death. But when we think about that, it puts you in a place of worthlessness in regards to your relationship to the Most High and the people that are his. Right? Because you are killed because you perforated the name of the Most High. Right? Because you pierced it, because you took a hammer and you battered it and defaced it. Okay? And so kind of connecting this back to the light thing, when we say that we are the bringers of light, the holders of the light, the manifestation of Yeshua in this earth, in this world, making light be in places where there is no natural light. When we say we are that, and at the same time we're over here poking holes in the tent of the Most High, bringing down his brand.
Yes.
When we look over here, this is something that is you're not worthy of life when you've taken it to that extent. Right? You have no idea who the Most High is. And this is why you're behaving in this way. And you have no business even being around. That's what happens over here, right? This person over here was behaving in this way that caused them to be killed because he diminished the name. He diminished the name and character and brand in the eyes of others.
Maury.
Yeah.
Can you go to if you go to like Leviticus 18:21, where it speaks about profaning the name of Elohim, and that word profane, that Hebrew 49 or it's 2490, which means profane. Halal is another word, which means to poke a hole in, puncture. And every time when I'm looking at these words, when you talk about profaning or blaspheming, it's always puncturing, causing there to be holes in that. It's I think about that house we was just looking at.
Yeah.
That beautiful house.
It was beautiful. That was a wonderful house. That house was amazing. I loved it. I coveted that house. I wanted that house so badly. But guess what? That thing had a huge hole in its roof. Who knows how long that hole was there? But once that hole is there, the protection is gone, and so water gets in there. Water destroys everything. Okay, the strongest woods. When we think about how they used to make houses back in these days, like this house is fairly old. It's a well built home. When you get into the walls, I cut a receptacle into the wall, and I ended up cutting into the stud. It smelled like pine in this house for a week because there is some strong wood, some sturdy, strong wood that was used to construct and build this home. But if that thing gets saturated by water over time, it's destroyed. Just from a small hole, right? Just from a small puncture, right? And we don't gotta go over there to that verse that you was talking about to find it. It's right here.
That's right.
That's this. Blaspheme the name and cursed. That's this word right here.
Son of flaw.
That's this word right here. That's this.
Stop it. There you go. There
To
you go.
be or to make light. Right? We think about the word what's the word that means to be heavy?
Oh, food.
Kavod. We think about kavod, the presence, character of the Most High is light and is heavy. But over here, to be made light, not like light, but light as in weight, light. When something's made to when it goes from this heavy, substantial thing, that's funny. When you think about like back in the day, people had these big, huge chains. These big, huge gold chains. And you look at like, man, how's he walking around with all that gold on? This stuff is hollow. It's hollow. If you picked it up, you would feel how light it is. Like, man, this ain't nothing because it's light. But if it was solid, it would be something that's like substantial and like and has girth, right? But if it's light, it's this little flimsy little thing, right? And so when we think about what's being done to the name of the Most High, you're causing this thing that is substantial, that has weight, that has honor and glory and heaviness to it, and you're making it nothing. You're making it be nothing, just this little thing that's like, we just had this piano that was brought over, and it took five grown men to bring this thing in there. This thing is heavy and substantial, right? As opposed to having like this little keyboard that I could just grab with my little two fingers. And so when we think about the idea of causing the Most High to be seen in the eyes of others, when He is the greatest, He is the highest, and then we make Him out to be nothing,
That's right.
then you're worthy. You're worth nothing when you do that. And that's what we see over here with these commands that we just see over here. The people who heard him do that gather up stones and they kill him. The people who heard him do it, the people who witnessed the wickedness done by this person are the ones who stoned him to death, because he's created, he's done this thing that is totally diminishing the name and the worth of the Most High in the eyes of others. And so how much more so when we think about these people out here who walk around with the in so-called righteousness, and so-called righteousness, representing the Most High, and the only thing that they're out here doing is bringing down the name of the Most High, because they sitting up here being these terrible examples to the Most High. Let's see.
That's amazing.
Kadara says, "How much weight does ignorance have in this scenario? Well, I mean, the scriptures tell us that my people die from lack of knowledge. Out of ignorance these days could get you killed. Okay, and we talking about everlasting death because of ignorance. Okay, and so that's why we have to be so careful. We have to be so careful. The Most High don't play out here. He don't play. And he's so serious. Which at the same time, helps for us to be able to understand how serious it is for us, where we literally have to be these menorahs out here that's shining brightly in this world, because people out here blaspheming the name of the Most High and bringing death upon themselves, and they don't even know it. They don't even know it. They don't know what they doing. And all you getting, you need to get you some understanding, right? Because people out here getting all kinds of things. They getting all kinds of things, but they ain't getting no understanding, so they living in ignorance, and they out here blaspheming and bringing curses on the Most High's name, and they don't even know they doing it. And they bringing death on themselves.
That's why boundaries is necessary. It's sad. Wolves.
Most High all about the Torah. He all about laws.
Boundary,
He all about boundaries. He's all about a distinction between the inside and the outside. He's all about that. He's all about it. And so, when we look over at Leviticus 24, this person, he was on the inside acting like a heathen. He was on the inside acting like he was on the outside, and then they treated him like how he acted, and they put him outside, and then they killed him.
Oh my goodness. Moray, come on. Why you gotta say the mom's name and not? Like, this is a woman's lesson right here.
Yeah, they said her name because it's her fault probably. She should have taught him better than that. That was her home training. That get out and be like that. They did say the whole family's name out there.
Under the mom, man.
They put the whole business out on the street. They didn't let them be like this anonymous person, like, because of this of the seriousness of it all. And so we really have to think about that, because these whole things, they're seemingly separate issues when we talk about blasphemy and the table of showbread and the menorah, but it's all the one thing though. All these things, we could all think about these things all in the same vein of the menorah, that we have to shine our light. We have to allow for our flesh to be destroyed so that the spirit inside of us can live and thrive and flourish, so that the light of the Most High is what exudes out of us, not the foolishness that can be connected to our flesh. That's going to cause us to put a stain on our family's name and cause for us to be put to death, like this person over here. Because they got a stain on their name in Torah forever, on their family's name, because he tried to put a stain on the name of the Most High. And And so, again, we really have to think about the seriousness of our purpose, right? We all have our individual purposes and things that we are responsible for in our lives. But the greater purpose is kingdom work. The greater purpose is kingdom work. And so, we all have to figure out what part we have to play in the kingdom and begin to play that part and begin doing those things and begin to be the light that the Most High called for us to be, and understanding that when we are that light, not if, but when we are that light, there are things that are involved in the fueling of that light, which is the beating down of our flesh, and not allowing for our carnal appetites to rise up and be the thing that leads and guides us, but rather be led and guided by the Ruach HaKodesh, the Spirit on the inside of us, so that we don't sit up here and be like this person over here who's saying that he is a part of the Commonwealth of Israel and behaving as a Gentile. Because that's what he was doing. He was behaving like a non-believer, sitting up here saying all this stuff. Whatever it was that he said, it don't say what he said. It categorized it. It categorized what he said, but it don't say what he said. But it put it in a specific category that makes it be this detestable
all
thing.
you know, it was bad. Whatever it was. Yeah, I just think about how the greater your purpose, the greater assignment that Yah has given you to do. The people with the greatest assignments, if they fall off, if their light burns out, that is a weightier, puncture to the brand of the Messiah, to the brand of Yah. Yeah. And that's why one reason to say not many people should be teachers and leaders and all of that, because their demise is a weightier bring down of the brand.
Yeah. I mean, think about Moses. Moses, who was who he was. And, he did this thing, this thing that he did, which caused him to not be able to go into the promised land. And when we think about, the thing that he did, it's easy for us to be able to understand that the reason why there was so much severity with his punishment was because of the relationship that he had with the Most High, where he should have known better than to behave in that way, because of the relationship that he had with the Most High. And so again, it's necessary for each and every one of us to be able to have our relationship with the Almighty, be increased and be fortified and be solidified, so that we're able to walk in the Spirit, walk in righteousness, and walk according to the Spirit, and continue to deny the flesh, because the flesh, as we saw, is against the Spirit, right? The flesh is going to always cause us to fall into iniquity.
Beat that thing down.
Okay, let's keep on going. Let's finish up over here. Let's go down to let's go down to verse 17. Start reading there, verse 17.
And a man who strikes the being of any man shall certainly be put to death. And he who strikes a beast repays it body for body. And when a man inflicts a blemish upon his neighbor, as he has done, so it is done to him. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, as he inflicts a blemish upon him, so it is done to him. And he who strikes a beast repays it, and he who strikes a man to death is put to death. You are to have one right ruling for the stranger and for the native, for I am Yahweh your Elohim. And Moshe spoke to the children of Israel, and they brought the one who cursed outside the camp and stoned him with stones. And the children of Israel did as Yahweh commanded Moshe.
Okay, very good. So we see over here, we see where the Most High is dealing with right judgment. Right? He's dealing with right judgment, where people, you get what you deserve. When you behave in a certain way, that way that you behaved, that way is owed back to you. And, that's right. That's in all of your rights to repay or have repaid, what was taken, given back to you. And we see that over here with this whole idea of, if a man takes the life of any human being, his life is taken. Right? If he takes the life of an animal, there's a life for a life. If a man injures his neighbors, just as he got injured, you can rightly be injured. Right? You sit up there and cause your neighbor's arm to be broken, then it's within all rights for your arm to be broken. That's what this is going. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. You sat up here and made this person's tooth get knocked out, your tooth could be knocked out. Right? Just as he has injured a man, so it shall be inflicted on him. Okay? That's right ruling. It's life for life. Okay? So, saying that, let's go over here real quick and see. Matthew 5:38. Let's see here. 5. Let's start reading at verse 38 right there.
You heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist the wicked, but whoever slaps you on the right cheek, turn to the other to him also. And he who wishes to sue you and take away your inner garment, let him have your outer garment as well. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to him who asks of you, and from him who wishes to borrow from you, do not turn away.
Okay, very good. So we see over here, it's interesting. When we see Yeshua talk and mention this eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth thing over here, right? And goes down and gives you a few things. Somebody slaps you, give them the other cheek. They can slap that one too. And when we think about this from a right perspective, this is not about passiveness, right? It's not necessarily about non-violence. It's about mercy. It's about the fact that I don't always have to deal with you in a way where I give you what it is that you deserve. Right? Because when you think about it, the Most High, He don't always give you what you deserve, does He? I mean, because sin, the wages of sin is death. We sit up here and enjoy the forbearance of the Most High every day. But yet and still, we want instant judgment, for us, right? If somebody slap you, you want to just immediately slap them back, right? Somebody sit up here and wrong you, you want to sit up here and just have your instant recompense, which you're by rights, you can have those things. But I feel like what Yeshua is helping for us to be able to understand is also the character of the Most High, because the character of the Most High is about justice, and it is about exacting judgment on, in general, exacting judgment. But it's also about mercy. And it's also about long suffering. Right? And it's also about, here, let me see what this says right here. It's also about keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and the children's children unto the third and the fourth generation. It's also about that. And so when we think about the fact that the Most High's character is indeed about judgment, and there will be a time for people to have to answer for all of their deeds and all of the things that they allowed to slip from behind their teeth.
That's their tongue, right?
Yeah. But we also have to think about the fact that the Most High every day allows for us to escape instant judgment. And just as He does that for each and every one of us, Yeshua is simply bringing out that we too are able to walk in the character of the Most High and manifest His character, and not always deal with people in terms of giving them what they deserve right when they wrong. What's this person say over here? Your life is spared in a moment for your wrongdoing. Accept the punishment with humility, because your life has been spared. Yes, there's many times people, you could potentially have done something that is actually a sin unto death. But because of the mercy and loving kindness of the Most High, He actually at times gives us the ability to turn around from that thing that we've done. And so, again, we look over here in Matthew, where Yeshua's saying over here, dealing with this eye for an eye situation, where it's really a teaching about mercy and understanding that, sometimes, you don't have to always deal with people in a way in which they, giving them what they deserve. Because, sometimes people really do deserve to be slapped across their lips. I've met many people that deserve to be slapped across their lips, and I didn't slap them. I didn't slap those people. Right? I showed them forbearance because my father showed me forbearance. Right? He could have killed me on the spot. Right? But he decided not to do that.
So I give you another day.
Right? He gave me another day to live and to breathe. Right? All right, let's look at one more scripture before we go ahead and be done with this here. Let's go over to Romans chapter 2. Start reading at verse 3.
And do you think, O man, you who judge those practicing such wrongs, and doing the same, that you shall escape the judgment of Elohim?
Mm-mm.
Or do you despise the riches of his kindness and tolerance and patience, not knowing that the kindness of Elohim leads you to repentance? But according to your hardness and your repentant heart, and your unrepentant heart, you are treasuring up for yourself wrath in the day of wrath and revelation of the righteous judgment of Elohim.
Hold on, just stop right there. He said, but according to your hardness and your unrepentant heart, he said you are treasuring up for yourself wrath in the day of wrath? So you talking about like this kind of debit of wrath that's accumulating on your behalf? That sounds scary to me.
Yeah.
I have a debit of wrath accumulating and waiting for me in the day of wrath. We think about this idea of the Most High not dealing with us the way that we deserve when we deserve it. But this verse over here is saying that basically, I have this account over here of wrath that's growing potentially, and it's accruing interest as time goes on. And if I don't never do anything about this thing, it's going to grow, and it's going to be handed back to me on this day of wrath over here. And so, people, the problem is that the fact that the Most High don't deal with you right when you might think that he was supposed to have dealt with you, but he didn't forget. He didn't forget. He got that account over there waiting on you with your name on it, and he's going to pull it out when he pull out the book of life, and he's going to look at your name, and he's going to be right there, and he's going to say, I got some wrath for you right here. And then that's going to be it. And so again, when we think about this idea that Yeshua's not sitting up here, and he's not sitting up here going against the Torah by any means. Because you still going to get a life for life. you just not gonna get it just straight away. If that thing that you've done has never been dealt with, it's gonna be dealt with. He just giving you time to rectify your situation, which is love, right? Which is that's love that's been placed and given to you, in spite of yourself. Okay. So let's keep on going. What verse was that? That was verse. Okay, start reading over there at verse 6. Verse 6.
Oh, 6. Who shall render to each one according to...
Hey, wait. Read 5 again.
Yeah. But according to your hardness and your unrepentant heart, you are treasuring up for yourself wrath in the day of wrath and revelation of the righteous judgment of Elohim, who shall render to each one according to his work. Everlasting life to those who, by persistence in good work, seek for esteem and respect and incorruptibility, but wrath and displeasure to those who are self-seeking and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness.
Hold on. Verse 7. Everlasting life to those who by persistence in good work seek for esteem. Hold on. It says, to whom by patient continuance in well-doing seek for glory and honor and immortality, eternal life. When we seek out the character of the Most High, when we seek out the works of the Spirit, everlasting life is what we gain as a result from that. When we seek out the clean, pure, beaten oil to be burnt and shine in the light, everlasting life is what we result from that. But wrath and displeasure to those that are self-seeking. Self-seeking, you worried about your flesh. Self-seeking, you worried about your own carnal mind. Self-seeking, you worried about your own things that benefit you only. And do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness. Okay, so when you're not working to beat down the flesh, to press down on the olives, to produce that clear, clean oil that's inside of you, which is the Ruach HaKodesh, when you're not working to allow the Spirit inside of you to rule and reign, you're doing these other things that gets you wrath and displeasure. Okay? Verse 9.
Affliction and distress.
Hold on, read 8 and 9.
Yeah. But wrath and displeasure to those who are self-seeking and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness. Affliction and distress on every human being working what is evil, of the Yehudi first and also of the Greek.
Yeah, everybody doing it. Go ahead.
But esteem, respect, and peace to everyone working what is good, to the Yehudi first and also to the Greek.
Yes, very good.
For there is no partiality with Elohim.
He's going to treat everybody the same. If you out here working iniquity, then you gonna die. And you building up your iniquity account is nothing. Is your bags is bullish. Your iniquity coins is packed up. right? But if
Portfolio is milk.
your portfolio of unrighteousness is out here melting all over the place. But when we walk in righteousness, there are treasures stored for us in the heavenlies, right? That the Most High, he got something for us, whether it's wrath or whether it's life everlasting. Okay, but the way that we achieve this life everlasting is by us allowing for the spirit that he placed on the inside of us to continually and eternally burn, right? For us to not waver in our light bearing, right? To bring our light with us everywhere we go, and present our light in the darkness, in these dark places, these places where there is no natural light. We bring the light. Okay, and we must allow for that light to burn always, because when we don't, if we don't, he gonna treat us the way we deserve to be treated. He might not treat you the way that you deserve to be treated instantly, but you're going to get what you deserve one way or another.
You don't get out of it.
Okay. Okay, so that being said, thinking about Leviticus chapter 24, kind of just wrapping up over here, helping for us to understand that, we indeed have a job and a duty to perform. We as the priests of the Most High, we as these olives that need to be pressed so that oil could come out of us and be useful inside of us in the burning of the light, right? We have to, no matter what, maintain the light and not be out here false representing the Most High, but representing the Most High to the fullness. Always and only doing that, right? Always behaving as insiders, those that are inside the Commonwealth of Israel. Never behaving as outsiders. Never living our lives the way the world would have for us to be living it, but always living our lives the way that the Most High would have for us to be living it. Always representing the Most High's kingdom, and always being about the spreading and the establishing of the kingdom of Elohim every day of our lives. Okay. All right. So that being said, we does anybody have any last questions or comments before we get out of here?
Next week, Shavuot.
Okay. So that being said, we want to remind everyone to remember to like the video, share the video. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe to the channel. We want to continue to get, this word that we have out to whoever is able to hear it. We have, as we said in the beginning, 1 week left for Shavuot. We always want to remember the Most High's feast days. He gives us these wonderful feast days that give us a wonderful lesson for all of the things that he has done for us, his people. Again, we have, as of right now, a week and a day until Shavuot. Everybody keep that on your calendars, so that we're able to continue to do the things that he would have for us to do.
Any ladies watching the bread baking is gonna be on after Shabbat next week. Virtual.
Okay, yes. See if you could put that on a bumper on the end of the thing. I think you can. But we're gonna have our women's are gonna have the women folk are going to have the challah bake. Be baking the bread that we'll wave on Shavuot. Virtual style. We'll put the link in the description.
Send an email to us.
Yes, people. If you people who want to know, you could know. The people who do know, you're in the loop. You know what I mean? So
send an email.
We will, on that note, y'all willing, be back on next week, and we'll be back in the Torah doing this all over again. So, that being said, we want to say for now, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, and y'all willing, we'll be back on next week.
Yeah.
Shabbat Shalom.